Gmail emails are private. Yeah, well, that's what you think. You know, it's like this is how they're generating their ads. They're looking at keywords within your emails and such to populate the ads on your sidebar. And you know what? No, they won't even admit to you if they were going to turn stuff over to authorities with possibly no real warrant out for you or anything, no real charges. Just hey, we were asked to do this. And there's some new laws currently going through Congress that's trying to expedite that process, actually, where basically authorities don't even, local DPD doesn't even need a warrant on you to ask for information. They could just go, hey, we want this information. And last I knew, it hadn't fully passed through Congress yet. It passed through the House, and that's some scary shit because Obama is no friend of the internet. Let me tell you that. The guy was talking about like how he wanted to save net neutrality. FCC destroyed it for mobile devices. Net neutrality on mobile devices is over. Obama backed it and claimed that it was saving it. And there's been numerous other things, and you know, it's long story short, I would kind of say that it kind of boils down to that 1% thing again. And it's like, dude, Google gave a lot of money to Obama. Obama's gone ahead and appointed Google execs to certain pretty insane positions that you would think like, dude, this is a very obvious conflict of interest. And he's proceeded to, along with the GOP, by all means, it's like, it's not just to blame Obama and Democrats or anything. It's like the GOP and him have been on this destroy the internet mission. And so it's, anyhow though, I hope that answered your question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like Vidalia? It's one of the Tor.
Vidalia is Tor.
Yeah. No, I know. I just was wondering how you felt about that particular.
Do you know anything about the Supreme Court?
That's.
I know that as of so far, the Supreme Court seems to hate the internet as well.
You know why they get the justice system to take the internet? Because it's too fast and too complete of a tool to get the information to the people. That the same information that the government used to do, we can get it as fast or faster information to our people as they can. So the government doesn't like it because we can be just as efficient as they can be.
Okay, so how do we set up the justice?
Setting up an anonymous email account. Well, first off, in regards to your question on Tor, I like it. I find it interesting that it was a military project.
Are there other ones other than Vidalia that do the same thing?
ITP pretty much works off an onion routing concept. JAP works off a very similar concept. I like Tor. I think it has its limitations.
Yeah. I've noticed that too.
So it's kind of like with ITP. ITP has its limitations. Once you're on the ITP network, a lot of the times you may find that it's like when you try to jump out back to the regular internet through ITP, things aren't going.
16 years before the Supreme Court, and they found me not guilty.
You'll find with ITP, for example, that a lot of the time you aren't able to connect because there's not enough tunnels out of ITP to hit those things.
And there'll be a lot of times I'll be surfing something and I'll get, it'll give me those sort of error messages of who the fuck are you?
Yeah. And but in general, I think Tor's been well designed, and the good thing about Tor is due to its popularity is there's so many people that are a part of it that it's congratulations military, you got what you want. You guys are just buried
You're
in
also
the mix.
anonymous too.
That's the funny part, I think, is that it's like as much as the media can try to slam ANON, it's like, dude, the government is ANON. The government developed some of the biggest ANON projects there are. Quit acting like this is some group of super hackers. But hence, kind of a deal of that's kind of how things react when things get attacked that people don't want being attacked. In regards to setting up anonymous email accounts, a very simple means of doing something like that. There's a service based in Germany that I like a good deal called Anonymous Speech. So if you just go to anonymousspeech.com, They're right there. Now the thing is that the reason why I like them is they have a very good track record of not keeping IP logs. So it's kind of their philosophy is if you hit our site, we're getting rid of your IP. So that even if we're asked about who was here, we can't give an answer. Another thing I really like about them is they really kind of fight outright in regards to if some agency, federal type government or local legal agency tries to get information from them, they are very adamant about fighting that tooth and nail and making the person aware this is going on. However, that is what they do with their paid service, which is not that much. I think it's about like $20 a month or so. With their unpaid service, they still allow a service where people can send out anonymous emails and generate anonymous email accounts, but they don't give that guarantee that they're going to be destroying your IP logs and outs. There's somewhat workarounds to this, which can be a case where it's like you go ahead, connect to anonymous speech through proxies, so it's like, okay, dude, you know what? My IP information is nonsense already. And you could do further things where it's kind of like, okay, the pipe I'm sending you this information through is kind of encrypted. So look, the whole way I'm working with your free service, where you're not covering for me, I'm covering for myself. With most free anonymous email services, that's the route I would suggest taking if you were going to use them as a free service. Now with the ITP network, it's possible to set up email accounts within there. Your ability to have those email accounts kind of function with the regular world can somewhat become limited. It's kind of mainly within the ITP network itself. But that's another means where it's like, okay, we'll just do it within the darknet itself. Yes.
What do you think about Hushmail, which is in Canada? I know if they're issued a subpoena, they'll decrypt stuff. But do you know much about Hushmail?
I don't know much about Hushmail, but again, I would say the same things. Where I would tell somebody, hey, if you're not buying a product, you are the product being sold. So from the get-go, it's like, okay, well, they're going to do these things on their end, well, to make you anonymous, essentially. But okay, yeah, they're only going to do that to a certain degree. Well, you have to be aware of where their limits may begin and end. And so in that regard, it's like, okay, well, so you just went to them from your local IP. Well, why'd you do that? You knew that you weren't giving them any incentive to really cover for you. So you needed to cover yourself on that end. Like there was a browser proxy company by the name of Hide My Ass, and they kind of touted themselves as, oh, we're this anonymizing service and da-da-da-da-da, and they won't be able to tell who you are. And then they finally admitted, oh yeah, the U.S. government just subpoenaed us for a bunch of information, and we gave it to them. Now, my thing would be, again, it was a free service. What did you guys think they were going to do? Hopefully, nobody was dumb enough to actually approach them from their own IP. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people were. On that case, interestingly enough, what Hide My Ass had to say on it was that, look, yes, we are an anonymity service, but we don't support or condone illegal actions. But we do try to help protect people, and they cited the people of Egypt as an example. What I thought was funny about that was you guys just said that you don't condone illegal actions and else. Those Egyptians were breaking the law. HideMyAss.com.
Okay, so anonymous speech that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Do they actually store, like if I send email back and forth, do they like store it encrypted on their servers? 'Cause that's another issue.
That is a guarantee if you're using the paid service.
Okay, so they actually encrypt it on their server.
That's
so
that's
theoretically, if someone
that's
subpoenaed the server.
right.
They
That's a guarantee if you're using their paid service.
Oh, okay.
If you're not using their paid service,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a guarantee.
Right.
And so it's one of those things again where when you're not paying for something, there's also a lot of free VPN services that'll be like, oh, here's a way to make yourself anonymous. But it's kind of a deal of where I forget the name of the VPN company. They were based somewhere in Europe, but they just got a bunch of subpoenas and turned over a bunch of information. And it's kind of a deal of like, yeah, well, they didn't give you that guarantee if you were just using their free service. The benefit to things like the GAP network and the Tor network and I2P is they're not actually really companies. Well, John Doe is a company, but they're not really companies, so to speak, as they were non-profit organizational projects that were put together that a number of people unified to help make happen. Oddly enough, they're another case where from a business standpoint, to a large degree, I'd say like they are anarchy. They're anarchy in the working, but oddly enough, you get results. It's not complete chaos. So yeah. In general though, I would say if you're going to use a free service, get behind proxies. Get behind VPNs. Do as much to shield yourself. Go ahead, prevent JavaScripting from going on in your browser. Be able to say specifically, no, I allow this script to run, not this one. Block cookies, block trackers. It kind of gets to a point where it's like, okay, if you're going to use this free service, have you truly done everything you can on your end first to make sure you're not spitting out your own information, so that if these guys do get subpoenaed or something, it still leads nowhere.
Can I ask something? So let's assume we're all just Americans here, either going to school or working, doing whatever we're doing, not doing illegal things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'm not doing any cyber crimes
Right.
or anything. In your words, like, why should I care if Google uses my information for market research or something? Why should I care?
I'll give you a really a great example, I think.
Okay.
True story. I'm still God, I hate Mark Zuckerberg. I hate him so much. But working in tech, and I suppose being the age that I am, the concept known as anonymous, I'd been aware of pretty much since its birth. It was just part of the tech underground, largely. To give a brief history on that, there was image boards in Japan. And all people would just post up pictures, make stupid little comments. But with a lot of them, you didn't have to register with the site. If you didn't register with the site, your name would pretty much appear as a Japanese equivalent of anonymous. Now, guy who I shall call Moot decides that this would be a good idea to start in America, and he starts up something called 4chan. Now, there was a couple things that 4chan did. Like the Japanese chans, it allowed people to post without registering. Now, something else it did was it kept a very, very, very small bit of information. It was constantly deleting its own content. So if you made a post on 4chan, pretty much every new post would push your post down unless somebody responded to your post, at which point yours would get boosted back up.
Like credit.
What's that?
Like credit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one thing we just talked about.
And so, but they even had a cap on how many times responses would boost your topic back up. So eventually this thing would, like, ultimately for a post to last an hour on 4chan is like it lasted an eternity. And so anyhow, between all this stuff getting deleted off the servers in a regular, constant manner, and the mere fact that you didn't have to register your name, and if you didn't register your name, or didn't put a name in for yourself, you just appeared under the name Anonymous, you ended up with the most psychotic, schizophrenic individual in the world, which you could go to 4chan and it looks like you're having it's one person having a split up conversation with himself, because it's just every post is from Anonymous. Now eventually there was a channel in 4chan called /I, kind of popularly came to be stood to stand for invasion. And basically this is where the pranksters would go. And now think of, you have the server deleting all this content, you don't have to register, don't have to post your name. Now if you so much as just connect to it by a proxy, now Anonymous is really anonymous. So you can start doing some really fun and crazy shit and not having to take any responsibility for it. So Anon would start doing things, and when I say Anon, realize it's not these hackers or anything. It's just they were just using this platform to not identify themselves. Somebody might throw an idea out, and this really did happen, of like, hey, there's this popular browser game that kids are playing. I forget the name of the game, but it was a lot like Yoville. And they were just like, got a great idea. Why don't we go in there, make avatars that are a black guy dressed in a white suit with an afro? The most popular area in this game, the kids like to go, is this pool area. We'll make so many characters that will all go to the pool, line up against the door so nobody can get in or out, and when kids start bitching at us about it, we'll just tell them, pool's closed, has AIDS. And so a lot of people thought this would be a funny idea. So they went and made their avatars. How many people are going to do it? Who knows? But a lot of people did it. And due to the nature of Anonymous, it's kind of like the post kept on being refreshed. It'd be like, okay, it's been deleted. Let's remake this post again. And so, yeah, this one whole poolway in this game was blocked up for hours. And it'd be like, dude, it wasn't the same people the whole time. One person would jump off and another person would be like, that seems like funny, I'm going to go do it. And eventually the invasions started getting to other things where somebody might go, hey, by the way, I found the CEO's personal phone number. Have fun! As a matter of fact, there's a popular Anon saying, which is, if you hate them, post their info. And so it'd just be like, bam, well, Anonymous just said this is the number. Do I want to call it? Do I not want to call it? Eventually enough people might be, fuck it, I'm calling it. And all of a sudden the CEO's getting slammed with all these phone calls. And so that, but yeah, so that was where kind of Anon came from, and that was yeah, there was really nothing special to it. It was just a bunch of stupid boards and just people not identifying themselves.
I have a question. Do you have any idea or any ideas about what you can provide to this movement? What you can give to all of the Occupy together?
Well, part of to answer that, part of what we wanted to do and part of the reason why we wanted to get people caught up on things is especially with things that just happened in Boston last night and
What
stuff.
happened in Boston?
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, police went in. There was a lot of beatings in El Seguin, a lot of macings.
Under arrest.
Tons of people being arrested.
The female president was full, so they started taking women to an undisclosed event.
And so when things like that start occurring, and or to continue on, I lost track of something with my Facebook deal. I started when Anon got involved with the WikiLeaks deal. I kind of noticed, like I said, okay, this is a big deal. So I just started doing these things that I called Update on the Fight. What I decided was I was aware that I was like, okay, the FBI's trying to hunt this down and whatnot. There was a lot of documents. Like at this point, I would say dude, there's not leaks going on now. There's just a flood. Now, the media is not reporting on this flood, but to a large degree, there's a flood of foreign policy docs, internal police docs, and else that are going out. I'd noticed that the major media at times was completely failing in their regard to report to people on what a lot of these docs contain. So on the Anon end, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to point people to this stuff. I better be careful with it. And the reason I was doing it as myself was I kind of figured people can get kind of weirded out when they feel like they're dealing with a ghost. And I also do stuff in music, so I was kind of like, okay, well, between the label I own and the music I do and else, people kind of know who I am. So let me go ahead and tell them this: any information I link to will link to a third party. I'm never going to link to anything directly, but I'll make sure that third party link very obviously points that person to the specific documentation. And sometimes I'll give a quick example. WikiLeaks is a great case. Media says state cables are a bunch of nothing. It's nothing but stuff about Gaddafi's hot nurse and royal family gossip in the UK. In the meantime, it's like, okay, look, here's a state cable. It was, we were complicit in it. DynCorp was, to put it simply, it's kind of like a Merck firm. DynCorp was treating some of their higher clients in Afghanistan. They're bringing in underage boys that are prostitutes, having them parade around, doing a kind of like fashion show thing. Their clients then go ahead, pick out what boys they like the most, and then take them home and fuck them. This was paid for with your tax dollars. That was in those state cables. The media told you it was about Gaddafi's hot nurse. Now, so I'm going ahead and I'm doing a lot of things to point people to documents of sorts. There was some Bank of America documents where I was just like, boop, bam, right here. The performing mortgage fraud, here you go. Here are their docs. By the way, U.S. government plans on developing rootkits, viruses essentially, to hack and spy on you, the American public. Here are the docs, these specific docs. Granted, but like I said, I was doing it through, here's a third party link. IBM got very mad at me about this. Very mad. And a lot of the IT world got very mad at me about that. Facebook, the last update on the fight that I did, and after IBM and else got mad at me, I kind of decided, okay, I better stop this. This is starting to complicate my professional life and else. I decided I'd do one last final update that would just kind of cover some of the things, kind of review, wouldn't point to any specific docs, but it would review things that had been gone over during this near year period where I'd been doing these updates. Didn't point to any docs, like I said, just largely was philosophical, covered some points. Rather than doing it as a regular Facebook post, I wrote it as a Facebook note, saved the draft, went back to proofread the draft before I posted it to public the next day. Got the proofreading done, went to post it, wouldn't post, just looked like Facebook was glitching out. So after doing that, there was a friend of mine that was like, hey, I know you've done this writing, will you get it to me? I was like, yeah, sure, I'll send it to you in a private Facebook message. So I tried to send it to him, won't send. Looks like Facebook's glitching out again. Try to send it again, and bam, this pop-up comes up and goes, this has been flagged and essentially banned for abusive and or illegal content. Now, I'll be more than happy to give you a copy of what all was in this. I assure you, there is nothing illegal, there was no cursing or anything at all, there was nobody cited by name. There was nothing abusive about it. It was never even posted to public. So literally, Facebook went and did one of two things. Either A, there was some word I had used in there, or some string of words, that post the saving as an initial draft, they put it as, okay, if you see these keywords, flag this. Or B, they literally had to read it themselves and then decide to ban it. Nobody from public could have banned it. That was on Facebook. Now, what did I do wrong then? I could tell you what, though.